Sid Meier.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. You guys rock.
Yeah. Not as much as you.
This is my first MAGFest, and needless to say, I'm quite impressed with the both the maggishness and the festishness of the event. This is kind of billed as a Q&A. Being my first MAGFest, I'm not exactly sure what kind of stuff you guys are interested in. I thought I would kind of start with a little introduction of myself, and then open it up for questions and stories and concerns or whatever you've got out there. And if things slow down, then I'll start, I don't know, make something up. So my name is Sid Meier. I've been designing and writing computer games since the early 80s, when I founded Microprose Software with my partner Bill Staley. I don't know if any of you go way back there, but those were wild days. Started on the Atari 800 computer, graduated the Commodore 64, a little diversion over to the Amiga, and back to the PC, for those of you early day pioneers. Some of the games we did back then were Solo Flight, F-15, Strike Eagle, Silent Service. My partner Bill was kind of a military guy, so we did quite a number of military simulator kind of games. We had a great time doing that. Just earlier, somebody brought a copy of F-19 Stealth Fighter, which was really our first PC game. Gunship. Then we got kind of tired of blowing things up all the time. You know, I mean, how many explosions can you really enjoy? What's that?
Depends on if you're Michael Bay or not.
Depends on if you're Michael Bay or not. Okay, yes. Those are much better explosions than we had back in the day. We branched out with a game called Pirates, which was. Thank you. Okay, I can see what generation we're dealing with here. Pirates, still one of my favorite games, and a game that a lot of people still talk about. So it was kind of our take on role playing. In those days, there were a lot of kind of venture games, what we called pick up the stick games, where you kind of go into a room and pick up the stick, pick up the glass, open the door, close the door. And our goal with Pirates was really to streamline and make it more kind of movie feeling, more narrative driven. So we had some menus, some sword fighting, some ship battles. It's kind of like a pirate movie, it's all the good parts and cut out all the boring parts. So that was our goal with Pirates, and I think people responded a lot to kind of the open world feeling of it, that you could go wherever you want, do whatever you wanted. You could align with any nation you wanted. You could become, a pirate and capture every ship you saw, or you could align with the English and capture only French ships. You could romance the governor's daughter, and you could be a merchant trader if you wanted. It really, kind of one of the first open world games, which. We take credit for that. We think that Grand Theft Auto stole all of our pirate ideas when they were slightly more successful. But anyways, moving on. After that, the next game we kind of did out of the blowing up stuff genre was Railroad Tycoon. All right. I'm just going to call out the names of games, all right? Pirates. Railroad Tycoon. Civilization. Covert action. Think before you cheer, please.
ATM.
So Railroad Tycoon was actually begun as a model railroad simulation. Basically, before there were video games, we made model railroads. And it was an incredibly painful and time-consuming process. And at the end, there was a loose wire somewhere, and it just didn't work. So I thought, the computer would be ideal mechanism to do a really cool model railroad. So we started with that, and gradually the game just kind of added on new features, the stock market, competition, history of railroads, all that kind of stuff. And it was really for us the first game that led the way to Civilization. It was a building game. We really kind of felt that SimCity had kind of shown the way, that it was just as much fun to build something, to create something, as to blow it up. And there was a kind of a satisfaction in creativity, especially this idea of starting very small and then over time kind of building something that was your own creation, your own design, and being able to look back at the end of the game at that one little spot where you started and kind of pull back and see all the cool stuff that you'd done. So that became, in a way, the seed idea for Civilization, which was the next game that we did. And it was really kind of, all right, Railroad Tycoon was fun, building is fun, having these different systems work together is kind of cool, but how can we do, something really awesome and epic, like a history of civilization? Yeah, that would be cool. So Civilization actually started off as a real-time game, much more like SimCity, where you kind of zone this area for farming, this area for growth, this area for something else. And it just totally didn't work. It was boring, and you spent most of your time watching and very little of your time doing. So we kind of put it aside for a while, actually, and a couple months later, after doing a different game, we came back to it with a turn-based approach, and that kind of was the magic secret sauce that made the game work. With a turn-based approach, there was always something for you to do. The game was always ready for you to make a decision, but it was never kind of forcing you or rushing you, and because of that, we could give you kind of pretty deep and interesting decisions to make. And that was, I think, the coolness of Civilization, is you're never actually in the present moment. You're always kind of projecting forward, saying, oh, do I need a phalanx? Yeah, I do need a phalanx, but I really like to research this, and I need this building, and I need all this kind of, you're kind of always projecting into the future. And there is, as soon as one thing is done, you start building something else, and there's something else you have in progress. And there's really no good time to stop playing, because there's always something even cooler to look forward to. So, I think in essence, that's the key to the one more turn phenomenon. Is that there's never a point in the game where everything is done and you're kind of starting everything from scratch. You've always got something cool happening in 3 or 4 places in the world, in the map. So Civilization was a game that kind of built on some of the ideas and experience we had with Railroad Tycoon, but now with a really epic kind of topic. You might have noticed a lot of our games deal with real world situations, events, ideas. What we find powerful about that is that players can sit down and play without having to read the manual or understand, which way does gravity go in this world, or are the orcs the good guys or the bad guys? Maybe we all know that. I don't know. Anyways, so the idea of doing a game based on real world things is that you hopefully can kind of sit down, use what you already know to play the game, and the hope is that as you succeed, you feel that it's your intelligence, your brilliance, your genius that is causing this to happen, not the fact that you read the manual 8 times or whatever. So we do like real world type games, which brings us to Alpha Centauri, which is which totally violates all those rules, and still pretty successful. So I don't know what I'm talking about. So, Alpha Centauri, CPU Bach. Anybody?
Awesome.
Thank you. Good man, yes. Totally underrated game. Not even a game. Not even sure what it is, but. Civilization 2, Civilization 3, Civilization 4, Civilization Revolution. Couldn't stop civilizing.
Don't ever stop. Never stop.
I do need to give a lot of credit to a lot of people for those games. I was a lead designer and programmer and just about everything on Civ 1, but there are a lot of people that really came on board and made those other games happen. So a lot of credit to Brian Reynolds and Soren Johnson and some other folks that led the design of the 2s, 3s, and 4s. And then I kind of came back with Civ Revolution and decided the consoles were sorely underserved in the area of strategy gaming, and needed a version of Civilization. So I, a couple of years, I guess 2 or 3 years ago, decided to do Civ Revolution, which I think is a very fun game, where the leaders wear no pants. So